Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope you're enjoying the insanity that has been the RLCS this weekend. NA Regional 3 not letting us down. Some interesting scenarios, and I, for one, am excited to see how it finishes. But we've got a Q&A, number 29. It's crazy. It's been 29 weeks that we've been doing this, and you guys brought some pretty dang good questions this week. Let's get into them. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, inside source for all things Rocket League, answering your questions. And the first question, what do you think about Torrent's performance recently? Is Kinsey a good replacement for Percy? What can they do to get better? Thanks for the amazing videos as always. They're really fun and informative at the same time. Love for the Netherlands. Greatly appreciate it, man. Love your area. Shout outs to Amsterdam. Good times there. Torrent's performance recently has been surprising, and not in a good way is the best way I can state it. Most recently, if you guys do not know, they finished 12th, going 1-3 in Regional 3 with losses to Team Yo, Sonics, and DVS. And the only win they had was against RBG, and it went to 5. I will say that certain teams have off days, but I also have a lot of expectations of this team. For those that don't know the Torrent history, when they came in as Alpine, was Magic Bear, Percy, and Jordan. And this was a team that promoted top 8, showed a lot of promise to stay top 8 in RLCS X, and then has kind of been riding that wave ever since. I will say when Percy decided to leave, I had some major concerns because to me, Percy was the clear favorite. Statistically, I've made this comparison, had better stats than Mist last year. If you guys know how good Mist is on Envy, that should bring some gears and some things to mind due to the fact of how good Mist is. Percy also performing as well under a little bit smaller of a sample size, which does help. But you can see the impact Percy has had immediately on XSET, making them a team that nobody cared about to a team that has potential to go to the major. That's insanity. For Torrent, losing a key member that can facilitate the play, I will say Torrent has done a really good job of changing their aggression. They become a much more aggressive team. Jordan has stepped up significantly. Magic Bear still has the ability to pull out some stuff that you don't expect, and Kinsey is good on offense. To me, this team still struggles with some things, and I don't know if it's due to inexperience or they're just too much of the same with too much offense or something. I do think Kinsey is a good pickup. I don't know if he's the right answer for this team. Right now, and I've mentioned this quite a few times, there's a lot of teams that are all kind of in the same spot. You look at Ghost, Torrent, Sonics, Rogue, Vibrance, sometimes Charlotte, Phoenix. There's a bunch of teams that I think all fill in that like 9 to 12 to 14 range of power ranking in North America. They all have potential to break top 8, make it into the playoffs, but it depends on how they play. All these teams struggle with the same thing, and that's consistency. Showing your top level. The reason why NRG's been at the top for so long is not because they pop off every single week and play out of their minds. It's because their base level is above everybody. Their consistency when they are playing their game week in and week out is just better. They don't make as many mistakes. They still play cleanly. They have rotational play that focuses heavily on making the right decision. And because of that, even if mistakes do happen, their players are in a position to cover for each other. And that level of consistency whittles teams down. It's very frustrating to play against a team that no matter how many shots we put on, no matter how many times we demo you, no matter how many times we do this thing, we still don't get wins. And when we do get wins, they're far and few in between. Even if we take you to 5 or 7, 9 out of 10 times, we're still going to lose. And that's frustrating. It's really, really annoying. And teams have made really successful careers out of that. Energy being the one to do it since the beginning. Other than G2 coming in, picking up Kronovi's team, it's been NRG. It's always been Energy or Kings of Urban or whatever it is for the longest time. So a lot of these teams, I think, are just kind of trying to find that level of consistency. And it may take a little bit longer for Torrent. I love Mystic and his coaching abilities. I think he's a great fit for that team. Fun fact, I was actually in the running for coaching that team originally under Alpine. I'm glad they went with Mystic. I think he's a much better fit, and he's way more experienced. And he fits their personality significantly better. But when you have a new player, I do not expect things to just immediately switch over. That's why the XSET thing is so exciting with Percy, because Percy's finally getting to showcase, yo, this is what actually my capabilities are with a team that everybody kind of counted out. it's going to take some time for things to develop, and different teams take different amounts of time to improve and put things in their best foot. Right now, I think it's consistency and cleaning up the small mistakes. I think the foundation for Torrent, just like Sonics and all these other teams, are really, really good. But they got to find that like X factor that allows them to take that next step. But losing to teams like Yo, losing to teams like DVS, if you're a top profile team, you can't be losing those matches. That's the one thing that has separated teams like version 1 from some of these other teams. Go look at V1's history. They may be close matches. They may be going to 5, but they are not losing to teams that are lower than them in the standings. They are creating that separation, and that difference keeps them in the running, and right now tied for top 4. That's a big deal. So finding ways to get those victories, finding ways to separate themselves from that pack below them is really important, and it may take some time to do that because there is probably like 6 to 8 teams that are all in that same area, and there will at some point in the season be a separation where instead of it being 9 to 14, you're going to see 9 and 10 create a separation where they consistently win against those other teams, and then 11 through 14 are all battling it out between each other. So yeah, focusing on that consistency, it's not easy. Percy's a tough, very, very tough player to replace. Up next comes from Wipes that says, "Hey Lawler, want to know your favorite caster role is. At the We Play event in Ukraine, you were an analyst, and for V1, you're a caster. So the question is, what role do you feel the most comfortable with?" So I've been very, very blessed to be in the career that I have been for 6 years. I've been casting professionally since 2016. We're coming up on doing it for the 5th/6th year, and I've done it for a bunch of different titles. Obviously, Rocket League is the bread and butter, but I've also done a bunch of BRs and party games and ARPG. I've done just about everything, and I've been doing it for some pretty big names. I've been very lucky to work with television studios and ESPN and TBS with E-League and a bunch of others. I've been very, very lucky to get a little bit of everything. And lately, getting to do hosting stuff has been kind of the focus. It's always good to take different games and different perspectives in esports to better own your craft in different roles. So me casting play-by-play, me casting color are two different things, and they give me an appreciation about like, yo, when I cast play-by-play, I need to make sure I do this thing for setting up my color commentator because it's what I would like if I'm a color commentator. Oh, if I'm a play-by-play commentator, I wish my host would do these things and set me up for these reasons. So I've been able to do a lot. I think as an analyst, like a desk analyst, is where I shine and show my best, just because it is what I put so much prep and time and effort into. But at the same time, I do enjoy casting. There's nothing better than that feeling of making an exciting call and everybody else getting excited about it and popping off in chat, or, you know, a live crowd cheering and chanting. I'm very lucky that version 1 gives me a lot of freedom. We don't really have dedicated roles on V1. I am the host of the show. I introduce and throw it to break. I bring up certain things. I lead conversation. I'm the one that basically drives the conversation and super supports me. But in the actual game, in-game commentary, we do a hybrid role. So I do both play-by-play and color. That's based upon field. That's based upon experience. Based upon trust with my co-commentator that I've been working with. Shout out to Supersonic. He and I have worked a lot together over the past 12, 16 months. So that stuff in hybrid originally for me comes from battle royales. The ability to have a lot of theory crafting time, trusting the audience to understand that ball goes in net allows me to talk about in-depth things that are actually more important. There's a lot of people that do come over to the V1 broadcast and are like, wow, like the insight we get from the stream is significantly better than some of the other ones. And it's because of the way that we commentate. So to give you an answer, I don't think there's any one that I like more, that I'm more comfortable with. I would say like the one that I will always fall back to is desk analysis, just because it's kind of my thing. It's kind of what I do. It's also what I've been professionally trained to do, but I also do enjoy commentating quite a bit. I used to have more experience as a color commentator. I prefer being a play-by-play commentator with anecdotes and flair brought in with color. So it varies quite a bit on what I like, and it changes pretty often. I also like being a host, doing what Leaf X does for the RLCS, where I get to just drive conversation, pick people's brains, kind of steer the way that I want it to go. And I've been doing that a lot lately as well, especially with my own TV show. Shout outs to ranking up on Sportsnet. But man, I've been very lucky, like I said, the past 6 years to do a little bit of everything. So anytime I get a chance to just work and do other things, I'm happy to be there, and I try to do it the best that I can. Up next comes from Alex. How do you think they'll run the major? Seems to be so many games, there is, that I have no idea how they'll fit them all. For example, Swiss has 33 best of 5s, and then there's 8 to 9 best of 7s during the playoffs. With a daily intro and outro, I don't understand how they'll have time to fit it all to these matches in 5 days. Maybe if they do a week, I can see it, but it's still a lot of games. The only way I can see it working is if they have 2 stream stage running at the same time. I do understand your concern. Right now, during the regionals, which is the exact same format, they do it in 3 days. They accomplish this by the first day showcasing a bunch of different matches at once. They still run the playoffs. They still run everything else with an intro, with desk analysis, with interviews. That stuff should not concern you. All that stuff is going to be the exact same. The same way the casters do intros and desk analysis, pregame, postgame interviews, all that kind of stuff. That stuff will still apply just like it does right now for regionals. The difference, though, is they actually get more days. They do have, like you said, from the 8th to the 12th. So 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, which is 5 days. If you do 33 matches, you have 3 days of Swiss, is my assumption. They're going to take 3 days to do the Swiss format, where it's a bunch of different matches. 3 days to cover 33 matches. Figure 11 matches a day. It's possible. It's long, but it's possible. I'm curious on how they're going to accomplish that. I don't know if they're going to have multiple commentary teams there to cover things, if they're going to do an A and B, if they're going to do more of a round table type of thing where they do like the overtime shows. I'm not exactly sure, but my assumption, if they had to do it a particular way, the Swiss stage, 16 teams playing best of 5s in a Swiss format, you're going to have 33 matches broken up over 3 days. So 11 matches day 1, 11 matches day 2, 11 matches day 3. How they choose what matches when, all that kind of stuff, how they determine the schedule, we'll have to wait and see. There's also a chance that if you take the lowest seeds from other countries, there's a chance that they may not just show those. Sometimes that is the tough reality. You play the best matches, the ones that are the best for the viewership, and sometimes you get upset stuff. But again, if they're trying to cover everything, 11 matches for the first 3 days. That's a lot of Rocket League. I don't know if they're going to do that or not. Then when it hits the 4th day, which will be a Saturday, then they will do the quarterfinals, 4 best of 7s, and then for the last day, 2 semifinals and grand final best of set, just like they've always done. So the only thing you really need to wrap your head around is how they're going to perform the Swiss stage. If they want to showcase every Swiss stage match, they've got 3 days to cover 33 matches. Hopefully it's not just 11 best of 5s on those days. But if it is, sit back and relax and enjoy the Rocket League, because it's a lot. This major's going to be hype. We'll definitely want to tune in, but the only thing I can think of is they're not going to showcase all the matches. They may trim 3 matches from every single day and give us 8 best of 5s, which aligns with your typical RLCS broadcast day, which I still think is way too long. Real talk, if you're an esports person, if you are a production team, if you are someone organizing a tournament, 4 hours, 4-hour broadcast. Try to make that the normal. Your talent is way more energetic. The players aren't burnt out. Your viewers aren't burnt out, and they want to tune in to the next day because they're like, oh, wow, that went pretty quick. And then they go about their day. Please stop making these 8 to 10 hour it's just not it's not it. Don't do it. Don't do it. 4 hours, cap it there. Like, if you give me 4 best of 5s or like 3 or 4 best of 7s a day, I'll watch the whole thing. But if you give me like 6, 8, I don't want to. When it hits like that 6 or 7 series, I'm done. I'm out. Last but not least comes from Jeremy. It says, what do you think is the Moneyball stat for Rocket League? That is a very, very good question and a very tough question. For those that are not familiar with the game, or the movie, I should say, Moneyball, it is basically a movie about baseball where they find a way to, although these aren't the best players, they use stats to develop a team for really cheap, to keep them under the cap. That's the easiest way to explain it. If you've never seen Moneyball, it's on Netflix. Go check it out. It's a phenomenal movie. It's got Jonah Hill in it, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's really tough. You're basically trying to find this one stat that, although everybody looks for the flashy, showy things, the high-profile names, what is the stat that we associate with what could make a team really good? A couple come to mind. One is offensive possession. If you look at team stats and you look at a team that's really good at offensive possession, or time spent on the other team, you can do this on ballchasing.com. That is a good way to see an offense that is a well-oiled machine. And you can usually tell that between those players, there's something going on. And then you can further do your analysis. That's kind of the first one where it's like, yo, if I'm scouting and I see a team that spends most of the time on offense, what's going on here as to why? I can go deep dive. If you want an easier explanation for that, if I see a player that has a really high goal participation, let's give an example with a minimum of 500 matches played. Towards the top, the one with the most, Ronicky, First Killer, Archie, Chicago, JNaps, Ixo, Justin, Cash, Oli. I think you guys get an idea. People with really high goal participation, even though it doesn't tell the whole story, if you're looking at just a base level of players that you're like, I should probably consider them, these are players that are not only involved on offense, but also in a position to help score. Offense, to me, always outweighs defense, and there is obviously an anomaly to that every once in a while if a team's just cracked on defense that day and you can't score on them. But if your goals are going in and people are involved with that offense in some capacity, it means that they're putting in the effort and they're putting themselves in a good position to give yourself an advantage. I am a firm believer that stats don't really tell the whole truth. I prefer my eye test and my own personal analysis by deep diving and watching replay analysis. But if you want a cheat stat for players that are usually pretty dang good, goal participation is a pretty solid way to do it. I'm curious, what do you guys think is the Moneyball stat? If you guys don't know what that is, first and foremost, do some homework. Go watch Moneyball. It's a great movie. And come back to me. Let me know in the comments down below. And speaking of comments, if you guys want to be featured in these videos, if you'd like to be a part of Q&A Sunday, let me know in the comments down below. Any questions you guys have, things you would like me to answer. Awesome questions this week, all over the place, which is always fun. I love doing these videos. I always say it's my favorite videos of the week. But we've got some RLCS still to watch for NA Regional 3 recap for that tomorrow. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on it, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.